Uh-oh. Rawr indeed, Don. Rawr indeed. Oh god. Look, look. Little preview. I cleared up my RAM usage and my Chrome tabs. I've only got 80 tabs open now and only using 8 gigs of memory from last time's, what was it, 14 gigs? Hmm. I think it's more than 80. But no, it suggested 80 though, didn't it?
What's going on, everyone? Jerry.
No. No, 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 no. This is what happens when I try and close tabs. It just plays lots of random videos. That was your fault, Manis. It started playing videos in the background. Thanks, Petro. Your delightful music, and I'll play some more of your delightful music. Hey. Bigger faced board gamer today, wearing glasses so I can read. I've got the head going on. Bam. It's all come up trumps. I was I've closed about 20 more tabs because they were videos that I was watching for just general information. So one of the things that I do is I like to watch media stories and coverage from all spectrums on a story before making a decision on what I feel about the news that's being portrayed, and sort of like coming to an understanding of the news, I suppose, is a better idea. And this is for everything. This is for politics. This is for gaming news. This is for reviews. Pretty much everything. I'd like to see the negative and the positive and the in-between and people's views based on their sort of like ideology on the thing, which is why it's good to, if you're watching or reading reviews on stuff, get a review from someone that's a massive fan of the genre, that's a fanboy of the particular game, that's someone that hates the game, and someone that just like plays general games and things like that, and see how they all feel about that particular game, and then see if it's for you and your mates or whatever. But yeah, so you heard some of the randomly try to close these videos before I get like strikes or something for playing someone's random music or using their likeness or something. But so what I'm going to talk about in a minute, I'll go through the chat and say hello to people. You could say, "Oh, love you, BoredGamer." I'll be like, "Oh, thank you for the love." Then I want to talk about the Amazon Lumberyard stuff, some updates that have been made to that. Oh, Jadis, thank you very much for the resub. Love your face. Yeah, I'm going to be streaming. The idea is that I want to have 2 to 3 days a week soon that I will regularly stream at sort of like a reasonable time period that's I sort of like maintain, and that'll be typically Star Citizen news and Star Citizen gameplay. With 3.6, hoping that it's viable to play easily. Anyway, Star Citizen content with people on the channel, people from the Discord, just wham bam, jump in, play, do some stuff, maybe do some other random gameplay, whatever, some organised events, whatever. So yeah, I want to do that 2 or 3 times a week, and then I'll also be streaming other times. Now, as a continuing development of my channel, I want to try some things, and some of those may be different styles of news. So today I might cut up this stream with the Lumberyard stuff, because I was going to make a video about Lumberyard, because let's go over what I'm going to talk about in a second. Tech Raptor have got some articles up, basically talking about Amazon laying off some employees from its game studio division, and that it was struggling a bit with Amazon Lumberyard potentially, and then a talk about Amazon Lumberyard struggling in a bit more detail. And I wanted to look at Amazon Lumberyard on the wiki, and obviously it's Star Citizen's engine of choice now. I wanted to talk about that and talk about its new updates that it's just released. So Amazon Lumberyard Beta 1.19. And Amazon Lumberyard is actually a pretty fucking cool engine. However, when it first came out, and because it's based on CryEngine tech, although it's lots of other stuff as well, it's not great, or at least didn't look great for multiplayer games that wanted a large scope, unless you were also writing a huge portion of that engine yourself, which is what CIG are doing for Star Citizen. But it's potentially Amazon Lumberyard benefits from those sort of like updates, because they are apparently working with Amazon Lumberyard CIG, so maybe they are providing fixes and working towards certain tech together, and we'll talk more about that. We'll talk about what some of these updates to Star Citizen might have actually provided, and stuff like that. And we'll talk about some of the other games on Amazon Lumberyard, because I don't know if I'm NDA'd. There's a game called New World, which looks like to be an MMO. I suppose I don't have to say anything more than that, which might be pretty cool. We're waiting on some more information on that game, but they've had previous alpha tests of that game. And there's some other cool little games coming out as well. Well, I don't know if they're going to be cool or not. There's Crucible, which is, you know, a battle royale game. Why not? We need more battle royale games, apparently. And this is maybe why Amazon Lumberyard has been struggling with some of its games. But we'll talk about that in a second. Thank you very much for the sub, Nasty Head Wound. Oh, what a beautiful name. Yeah, love your faces. So how's everyone doing today? Everyone all right? Good. Look through this fucking chat, mate. Oh, there's a lot of chat. More than Pringles time, indeed. I find it hard to keep playing Star Citizen with all the server restarts. Yeah, indeed. That's one of the things they are working towards at the moment, having no more resets. So, I have a lot of tabs open. I've actually been collapsing a load of tabs and getting rid of the much more reasonably getting rid of stuff that I don't need. But my life is research for Star Citizen, effectively. So I open up like loads of stuff on Spectrum, loads of stuff on Reddit, loads of stuff from articles around the interwebs, and YouTube videos, ones that are other people have created, whether they be positive, negative, in between, whether they're from trash sources and totally just bullshit, or whether they're sort of super in-depth looks at things. And even if they've got little mentions of Star Citizen, I'll typically watch the most of the video, or at least the relevant parts. But that can be quite a lot of stuff a day. And that's why people assume that I've got more in-depth knowledge than I do, or more of a, I know, inside sources than I do, or something like that. It's just, for the most part, me doing a load of research from publicly available information. Are you enjoying 3.5.1, Congo? I know 3.6 is going to be a lot more exciting for a lot of people, hopefully fixing a load of the problems with 3.5.1. But hey, BoredGamer, am I cool? Nicklaus Boneshoe, I can't see you on like donating or anything, so mediocre, probably secretly disliked by your friends. No, you're cool, Nicklaus. Why not? You're watching me, that makes you cool. Something's gone wrong. I've gone wrong. How did you optimize your Chrome? I don't know what that means. I'm not sure if I have optimized my Chrome. Oh, I see what you mean. Just my general, so like just close tabs I don't need anymore regularly. But like last time I showed that, I think I was 14 gigs of RAM. I do have 64 gigs of RAM on my system, I think now. 32, 64. Is it 32? Who knows? I can't remember how much I bought last time. Let's have a look. Performance. I got 64 gigs of RAM. It's all good. I can have as many tabs as I want open, mate. +80 tabs on your phone? Oh my god, that's monstrous. Why do you stream in 720? I can count the pixels. Well, maybe I'll up it. It's because it's my face, look. How dare you? That's still HD. I'm offended by that. I'm genuinely offended. 720/60. How dare you? Yeah, maybe I will up to 1080 now. The New World was shown on YouTube. It looked awesome. Yeah, so it looks like an interesting MMO, New World. Someone told me ArtCorp was supposed to have an ocean in the end. Is that true? Not as far as I'm aware. It's a city planet, and I don't believe it has an ocean at all. I don't believe it's something they want to add to it either. Do you ever think we'll see more concept ships with heavy focuses on modularity, like the Catamaran Endeavour? Yes. I suspect there will be more of a push for modularity next year, when it's more relevant, after they've got Squadron 42 in a better state, potentially released next year. But I do suspect towards the end of next year we will start to see modularity as a large focus, because it makes them a fuck ton of money and it's a huge amount of gameplay. You know when the 3.6 Evocati testing is starting? Now. It's current. 3.6 is currently in Evocati. I can say that without breaking an NDA. But I can't talk about the specifics of the patch. I have poked CIG to see if they would be willing for content creators to to be able to cover the leaks if they're part of the Evocati, as long as they don't show screenshots and recordings and stuff from inside the Evocati, because or like the patch notes and stuff from the Evocati. You should be able to talk about it freely, yeah? I mean, I suspect you would be able to anyway, in the same case of Intel leaks, for example. Intel partners, they're NDA'd. However, when someone leaks something, then they can report on the leak. How are you today? I missed the start of the stream. You didn't? You're pretty here. This is the start of the stream. Sending you lots of loves from an expatriate living over in Europe. I love listening to your streams. I miss the accounts of home. Oh, thank you very much, Mommy Jisoo. Thank you very much. Very kind. Anyone know if Squadron 42 will support co-op? Originally, it was supposed to have some sort of co-op-y type stuff. Then they basically said it's going to be a single-player experience. And they've also said, single-player experience, we will consider potentially having some of the battles in Squadron 42 co-op and being able to be replayable with a friend or a wingman. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm expecting it to just be a solo experience, just a single player game. We've got another exciting ship giveaway next month as well. We've got the 890 jump this month. Unfortunately, the 890 has been pushed back to 3.6.x patch somewhere later in the 3.6 branch. Do I like the Reliant core? No, I'm not a fan of the Reliant series. It's probably my least favourite set of ships. Going right today, I'm going to plough through with some information and just sort of like discuss some Amazon Lumberyard stuff in a minute and see what people think. And then after I've gone through a load of it, then we'll talk a bit more. Do you think the delay of the Defender will affect the reschedule for our Lord and Saviour, the Carrack? No, I do not. I do not think it is based on that. Is that only the Carrack's still going to be worked on separately from that. It could potentially partly delay the Banu Merchantman because they were having problems with like the style guide and the pipeline effectively for that series of Banu ships because they hadn't done anything like it before. Overclock the planet. Hack the planet, mother trucker. I've been having great difficulty making money in 3.5.1. Am I alone and incompetent, or is it a common problem? So if you're in a big hauler, you can make money quite easily. Just not from buying and selling the narcotics anymore. That's a lot harder with a lot of things. Just mission running, doing combat missions is the way I'd make money personally in 3.5.1. Regarding 3.6, what are your thoughts on redacted? Redacted, while redacted, you're redacted. So, redacted. But I'm waiting for that wider PT release. Potentially, we could have a wider PT release for this weekend if they want everyone to test it before it goes live, which I hope they do. That would be pretty exciting and useful. Lots of cool new stuff in 3.6. What are you expecting to see at Citizencon? I've done some videos on this. I'm expecting to see what I want to see, and I'm expecting to see Titan suits, potentially a new couple of concepts, or some straight to flyable. Maybe Titan suits will be straight to drivable, rideable at that time, which would be absolutely awesome. We might see a 3.7.5 patch or something like that at Citizencon as well. Probably some 3.8 gameplay. I am expecting a release date for Squadron 42. Episode 1, or at least hoping for one. It makes sense. They've been talking about in the monthly report that they've been working on a new vertical slice for the first third of the game for Squadron 42 Episode 1. So I'm expecting we might see something like that at Citizencon as well. I hope that they show off a new system for the Persistent Universe, or the starts of it, so like a jump point, and look, we're starting Pyro, we're starting some of these other systems, this is where we're going, we're trying to get to the Odin system, things like this. So that's my major expectations for Citizencon. I'm worried though, because I'm going to Citizencon, and I suspect there's going to be loads of cool stuff that I want to immediately get videos up on, but I suppose I shouldn't be competing to get Star Citizen news out the fastest. I should be competing to get it out Star Citizen news the most accurate and informative. So once I get back, I'll be like, oh, and this is the breakdown of Citizencon. Maybe if Zin's working for me properly then and understands what the hell's going on, maybe I could just record a quick rundown, send it to her, and she'll be able to put a video up. Or maybe I can just do it from the event. I don't know. I have to wait to see. Is there any missions in the game at the moment? Yep. Loads. There's investigation missions, there's combat missions, there's collection missions, drop off and pick up boxes. There's a damn satellite like hero mission where you've got to go find a circuit board and find the correct one. It might have been taken away elsewhere. Other players can come after you. There's destroy all the narcotics in a lab type mission, or safe house, or go and rescue a box from that same place and take it back to the person that gave you the mission, or somewhere on Orc Corp. There's scramble races. There's player missions based on the service beacon. There's some there's destroy probes. There's lots of things. There's lots of things going on in the game even now. Do you have any idea if they plan to include a way for content creators to film in-game? Potentially. So, obviously they're working with Amazon and Twitch for some cool features that we don't 100% know about yet. They've got the render-to-texture tech. There's a news van in the Mako, Reliant Mako, which is going to have some features in-game. They have the tech to allow people to stream from in-game to in-game. So you could technically record something and it could stream it to Mobigas apps or news apps in-game. With the new patch, do we know the variety of attachments, what will be available? Barrel, underbarrel, mags, and scopes, I believe, is the first sort of stuff. At least that's the areas of the weapon they identified, the categories. What's your favourite type of morning caffeine? I am trying to phase out caffeine and sugar largely from my life at the moment. I have a fatty liver. I was worried that I might be diabetic or something as well. One of the reasons I'm going to the doctor on Friday. But I've been eating significantly more healthily recently. So morning caffeine, I have up to 2 cups of black tea a day, and that is the only caffeine I really have. What would you upgrade from a Reliant core? What would I upgrade to? Oh, what would I upgrade to from a Reliant core? Vegetation, Arrow, probably the Arrow. How many planetary systems are available in game? 1 at the moment. They have 100 to 120 planned, though, in some way, even if it's just lore. What do you think about Chris Roberts' pillar talk? Comment regarding ship price needing to be high for the economy to work. Yes, that makes sense. That's what they've balanced them for. That's why we need ship rentals in game as well. Ship price needs to be reasonably high. As long as you can insure them, yeah, and as long as you can keep them, yeah, I'm up for that. Otherwise, everyone very, very quickly gets straight away to the very top end tier ships. And what I actually want to see is the higher end ships should be a lot more essentially to insure, and the higher end components and hulls and stuff should be a lot more more expensive to repair. So when you're thinking about taking a top tier ship or like a really high tier fighter into a mission, you might be like, well, probably not worth taking my Saber here or my or whatever here. It might be worth taking a cheaper 300 series or an Arrow or something, which is going to be a lot cheaper to repair afterwards. That sort of thing. Do you see what I mean? I want reasons that people spend money as well as make money. It needs to have a driven economy. Otherwise, you get like super inflation and everything will be a bit mad. If seems like when the resets stop, we will need saved waypoints or locations, particularly for the economy. When will we get them? They are looking at different ways to navigate the star map and to save waypoints and locations and things like that. They're looking at that. We're not sure what we're going to get exactly or when we're going to get it. Going to finish the persistence in the next few years and their drop systems and mechanics until they stop making money. Well, that's sort of correct. I'm hoping that we have what they've deemed as full persistence within the next few quarters, though. The sort of like the first implementation of that, anyway. If you have a foot race, I'll sponsor with a reward, like a cyclone or a bike or something. 3.6 will bring BG events. Yeah, so assuming it is very playable and very the sort of like party system works as intended and everyone's not crashing out constantly, bam. Have you seen Flight Simulator 2020? Some of those weather effects, water effects and weather effects need to make their way into Star Citizen. I suspect you'll see pretty cool. So when Star Citizen gets optimized engine-wise and graphically, like polished, I think you'll see some very awesome looking things. Like, okay, so towards the end of the beta of Squadron 42, let me bring this up actually so I can give you an example of what I mean. So with Squadron 42, you're getting a lot when the alpha and optimization phase happens, so at the moment this is pegged for Q1 of 2020, they are going to drastically improve a lot of the graphics because they'll be polishing it and they'll be getting it tweaked in for graphics cards and for tech and a load of those sort of like extra options that you see in polished games. So at the moment, very bare bones. That's not super optimized. It's not super. There's a lot of rendering improvements and a lot of sort of polish graphic stuff they can do. And that's when you'll start to see that when they integrate this from Squadron 42 into the main persistent universe, which could be at the same time, it could be a little tiny bit later, and you should start to see the game looking a lot better. In my opinion, anyway, as far as I understand it. Do you know when the world will become persistent? Worried about investing too much time in it for my progress to be reset. So they currently reset every 3 months with every major patch. So your Alpha UVC and Alpha UVC purchases. I do videos and talk about this all the time. But that's not a criticism of you asking that question. Please ask away. But they're currently working on full persistence and server-side object container streaming, potentially when that is in-game, which could be as early as 3.8, could be as early as the end of this year. They will, around that time, apparently stop resetting the game. And that's what they've sort of said. I don't think that will be the actual full end of resets, because they might reset it with the beta and with the full launch, and if they need to desperately for some reason. But that could be the end of resets every quarter. What ships and manufacturers do you think will get the customization featured? I don't think it will actually be based on manufacturer, in my opinion. I think it will just be based on ship. And they'll just keep on adding more and more ships. Maybe the Vanguard will be the next to get the customization system that the 300 series has. Do you think the current plan is as big as it's going to get, or do you think they'll expand it beyond the asteroid belts? What? Oh, I think beyond the Iron Halo, beyond the asteroid belts and all that sort of stuff, beyond the edge of the system, I think there'll be more things to find there. I think there'll be sort of like procedure-generated points of interest and missions and stuff like further out, and that's why you'd want a ship that's got a huge range, like a Carrack or something, because that's going to be exploration. It's not going to be going to jump point to jump point to jump point. It's going to be going past the edge of the system and keep on going out. And they'll keep on improving that sort of tech and things as well. Do you think the Reliant Terrapin or Valkyrie will be viable for the November ship sale? Yeah, maybe. I think we might see the Valkyrie viable in 3.6. Obviously, it's going to get its cargo grid for 3.6, which is awesome. But you will also be able to rent ships at some point in the 3.6 branch. And potentially even buy them in-game as well. When do I start thinking we'll see capital ships? After Squadron 42's release, and after they get full persistence and server-side object container streaming in. Yeah, that's a good point. Technically, we sort of like have corvettes in the form of sort of gunship corvette with the hammerhead. Sort of, it's quite small, but we definitely could argue that. If you want to talk about capital ships, then I suppose we should define capital ships at the moment with things that have got an amount of capital class components, which very few ships do. But the 890 jump coming in a 3.6.x branch near you. That's 199 meters long. And it is got capital class components. It's huge. It will be the largest ship we've got in game. Until they release a big one. I've been getting any information on the Mercury Star Runner as to when it might be out. No, I suspect we'll start to see work on it by the end of this year, though. What's your take on the Reliant Core? I don't like it. Well, I like it a lot more with its rework, but I'm still not a fan of the Reliant series. I don't see where they really fit into the game. I think the Avenger Titan is just a significantly better choice. And then if you want to focus on any particular role, then you jump to another ship anyway. Maybe when we have science in game, maybe when we have the news van mechanic in game, then they can start to have a lot more like bite to them. But the Reliant Core, get an Avenger Titan instead is my advice. Regarding ships, do you believe there will be reasons to stick to starter ships, or is ship progression necessary? I think that in starter ships, you'll have a cheaper time for repair, rearm and refuel and getting those ships back. Maybe not refuel, but you know what I mean. Much cheaper insurance. So there might be an efficiency thing where you go, well, I don't want to bring my super expensive ship to this mission because the repair costs are going to be a lot, or whatever. So I do think there might be reasons to stick to the starter ships. I do think there will be ways you can upgrade some of those starter ships to be pretty good, but they are probably not going to be as good as some of the mid and higher tier ships. They're just not. But I wouldn't say that progression is necessary. I'd say it's probably sensible. It's probably necessary for certain missions. Oh, my head got cut off there. I apologise. CIG say that the core gameplay meta is acquiring and upgrading ships. I think that the land claim and organisation gameplay will be the core. Your opinion? I think it's a bit all of it together. Like it's going to be different core for different people. The core really is the basic FPS, basic flight combat, all of that working and individually being fun and sort of like balanced.
Thanks for being an awesome Star Citizen streamer and information man. Hugs from Denmark.
Hugs back from Denmark to the UK, to the UK from Denmark. You know what I mean. Mozd, thank you very much. Very much appreciated. Love your face. Thanks for the donation. Are you star? How do you think the high ship price confirmed in Pillar Talk will affect game systems such as Salvage? So we know that when you sell stuff that's not owned by you on the black market, it's going to be a fraction of the price is the idea. Salvage, I suspect that Salvage will be a bit random. So just stripping hulls of ships, it's going to be sort of like the same amount of money as mining, maybe. And you're taking the materials off ships. Yes, some ships might be worth a bit more when you're stripping them down. But the real money from Salvage is going to be taking weapons and items off of ships. And this is what I expect anyway. If you cut a laser or take out a shield generator out of a ship and take it back, yeah, it might have some damage. You might be able to repair it. You might be able to sell it for a good amount. And also, salvage is going to be interesting. Like, are you able to salvage everywhere? Are you able to salvage every type of ship? Is it illegal to salvage some ships? And that sort of stuff. But they are looking at potentially having scrap yards and salvage yards in the game. So I wouldn't expect you to make all of the money in the world from salvage, but I suspect that it's sort of like similar-ish to mining. Will they be putting a fuel gauge on the MFD so I can check fuel levels while in quantum drive? I suspect so, yes. First time you've made it to a live stream. Good job. Will we see the interior of helmets again in the FPS in the future, or are they going to stay like they are now? I know they're reworking HUDs, some of the helmet stuff, and UIs. So, for a much better experience, apparently. I suspect we'll see different types of helmets restricting your view in different ways. Do I think that CIG will stop selling standalone or new concept ships once the Persistent Universe is released? So fully released, I don't think they will. I think they will continue to sell new concept ships. Maybe they'll stop selling standalone ships. I mean, basically, they originally said, yeah, once we release, we're going to sell in-game currency and we're going to sell game packages. That was the plan. But I think they'd be stupid not to keep on selling concept ships. And the reason for that is that it adds new ships to the game and it makes them more and more money and it keeps hype for a lot of this stuff. And you obviously allow them to be bought in-game as well, but you do it Warframe style of you get it at the most earliest possible stage of when they're released if you want to pay for them. But and also you need to make sure that the new ships that are coming out are not just better versions of the old ships. They have to fill a different role. They have to be something new and a bit different or whatever, but they can't just be better. Why do you look like an absolute legend? I don't know, Cry. Just natural thinking man's potato. Thanks, I appreciate the beautiful lie that you've told me. Will we have infinite destruction and hull repainting with salvage and repair like in Starbase? Will this eventually apply to space stations, also like in Starbase? I think you have infinite aftermarket support for your ships. You will be able to change and do lots of interesting things with paint schemes. I'm not sure if you'll be able to fully customize exactly how you want your paint scheme, but you should have a good few options aftermarket-wise. We're not sure if we're going to be able to have space stations owned by players yet, or built by players, but maybe. I mean, it looks like they've got the tech to be able to do that. Do you foresee diplomatic gameplay for the 890 as an alternative to luxury touring? Yep, I do. I mean, social experience is massive to Star Citizen. I do expect we'll start to see more and more of that. You think the Kraken will be one of the first true cap ships, maybe 3.9? I think technically the 890 Jump will be. Do you think CIG will ever reach a point in development which they're able to meet promised deadlines or perhaps even move certain aspects forwards? Yeah, I think they'll be able to... you'll see every patch, you will see changes in the roadmap. Some stuff will get pushed back, some will get pushed forward, and it's not impossible to believe that they will have a patch where they get all of what they said in without any delays and get something else in they pushed forward. That's a possibility. But I mean, with the roadmap and the development, stuff moves around. That is just the nature of it. They plan to do this, some stuff gets pushed back. Sometimes it's lots of stuff, sometimes it's a few little things, sometimes things get pushed forward, sometimes things just get entirely reprioritized and they go, well, this isn't going to be for 3.5 anymore, this is going to be for 4.3. Is the 300 series custom manufacturer options glitch getting fixed soon? I bought a 325A with some options and I only have access to the base model on the PTU or the persistent universe. Could you do an episode on missions like hard to find ones or rare ones? Yes, I can. What I'll do is in 3.6, I will go through every single mission and every single mission loop. Type of mission, I suppose, rather than every single mission. Happily go through all that. Or catalogue that gameplay experience while I just chat about stuff. Nasty Masty SC, thank you very much for the resub. Very much appreciated. So I'm going to go and piss like a racehorse very briefly. I hope that's a beautiful visual image for you. And then we are going to go and talk about Lumberyard stuff, as is the title of this live stream and probable video, and we'll talk about it afterwards as well. We'll go back into sort of like the more AMA type stuff afterwards. I noticed that Old Man stayed behind while we found Trejo. Will we fight alongside these great actors during combat in Squadron 42? We've seen in Squadron 42 mocap, they have got them running around FPS style, like Gillian Anderson definitely for sure was. So I suspect we will be fighting alongside some of them, yeah. Is there a plan to make pool tables on the 600i working game? So they proved that they could do stuff like that. There's the physics supports that sort of stuff if they want to make them work. And I hope that they will have them working to a style or a level that we can play pool or whatever. And silly physics games and card games and that sort of stuff. They sort of like are able to do that. They had basketball that they showed. Whether or not we get it to any great degree is another thing, or whether it's not just NPCs playing and you can sort of like emote playing pool. So you just go use pool table and it sort of does it. Did you read the article where Amazon staff blame Amazon's? Yeah. We'll get into the Amazon stuff in a second. I've got some of those articles up. Forbes shed a lot of light on Chris Roberts. Should we, the backers, demand his resignation? No, because he made the project. All of that information about Chris pre-project was available to everyone and has been talked about. That Forbes article didn't give us anything new. It was all old stuff. It was all mostly relating to Chris Roberts and his family and stuff like that, which I thought was largely irrelevant to the development of Star Citizen. It was also focusing a lot on problems Star Citizen had pre-2016, which it definitely did have. They had to remake the game, basically. There was lots and lots of issues with management of that and the way they did stuff. They also had to build studios from, 13 employees or whatever, all the way up to, which is now, I think, over 550. So, no, you are more than welcome to talk about your view and say why you think that. But I say, sort of like, we as backers, no, I mean, we as backers should make our own decisions individually about what we feel about the project based on hopefully empirical evidence rather than sort of like, I reckon, sort of mentality. And yeah, feel free to consume as much data as you can on that. I thought the Forbes article was very, very, very unrelated to the actual development of Star Citizen, and was more sort of like a criticism of Chris Roberts and potential management styles that he previously had. That was pretty much it. It was not an article on game development. Also, I don't like or trust Forbes after the bullshit they printed about Total Biscuit when he died. So that's a genuine sort of like, no, I'm done with them sort of thing. So I am terribly biased against Forbes now. But again, that's my opinion of it. What's something you wanted to talk about, but you haven't yet? What do you mean? I couldn't possibly say, could I? Tell me secrets. Do you think we'll get plastic explosives with the right detonators so we can blow up the toilets on Port Olisar or other space stations? I do think we will have explosives and remote stuff for breaching and blowing stuff up. I mean, they talked about salvage charges for a very similar purpose. Are you thinking about further into the life of the game when you say ships can't just be better? I think it'd be 2949. We'd want a new model of an older ship. Okay. I see what you're saying now. We could have like the Hornet 2930 edition, Mark IV or whatever. If they're selling ships and keep on adding new concepts of new ships, I wouldn't want them to just be better versions, because that feels like you're just producing them to sell them. Yeah? They have to add something to the game that isn't just Blizzard buffing of things. In the past, lore, they teased military modules with the 600i, but with most recent Origin lore page updates, it kind of sticks to a more strict luxury base. Yeah, it probably is going to be much more luxury than previously stated. You're still going to be able to change the components up. You'll probably still be able to change a load of the internals in ships in the future as well. Do you still believe in the project? Yeah, I love the development. I love the drama. I love the ups and the downs. A lot of the... I mean, that Star Citizen's genuinely just starting to deliver now, and I think that this year's Citizencon, it's probably going to have a couple of cringe-worthy moments or some things that go wrong, but I suspect we'll see a lot of stuff that we're like, oh, fucking cool. I'm hoping it gets released next year, Squadron 42. That's the main sort of thing I'm looking for. But yeah, based on the shows they produce and the information that's provided to me, I really, really believe in the project. I think it's got a huge amount of potential. I think that even if it doesn't meet that full potential, certain elements of the gameplay loops will. And I think it could be a great MMO, and I think it could scratch my itch from sort of like Eve and my sort of like need to be economically and industrial sort of like successful in games. Lumberyard versus Unreal Engine, we can talk a little bit about that. I mean, there's a lot... Unreal Engine is much more industry standard. That's for sure. I think potentially Star Citizen might have done just as well or even better on the Unreal Engine. We just won't know. But was it a correct choice for them to start with CryEngine and then move to Lumberyard? I mean, it's impossible to tell. There are certainly problems with Lumberyard's engine when it comes to multiplayer scale stuff, but I think there would have been a problem with any engine that they had gone for. They'd have to have written large bits of it. So, for Squadron 42, definitely the right choice. For the multiplayer aspect, I'm not sure. I do think they'll make it work, though. 500 employees means a run rate of at least 40 million a year. They've got their financials. They release their financials all the time. I think they're going to be financially fine. What will I be doing 1,023 days from now? Depends on the time of the day, doesn't it? Exactly that time. Maybe streaming again? Are you going to go to the toilet? I'm almost full to bursting. How are you enjoying 3.6? No specifics. Obviously, can't really talk about it. hopefully we'll have a wider PTU by the weekend. Possibly. I think that might be a little bit optimistic, but maybe by the weekend, maybe on Monday. Have you had anything about in-game companies possibly selling different versions of the Mobiglass? Yeah, I believe that there are going to be different types of Mobiglass. There's going to be like Explorer versions and different UI versions and sort of like different looks to them. Why do we have 300 variants with the 315p and others, but the new 600i variants are just called the 600i? So technically, they are just modular changes to the ship. It is just the central module has been switched out for the exploration module or the luxury module. Exactly the same other than that. As you followed Star Citizen and CIG for a long time, what is the biggest revelation about games development you heard from CIG themselves? Okay. Games can evolve significantly if they don't have a release date, like massively. That could be for the publishers basically push deadlines and release dates. CIG hasn't had that in the same way. They push themselves to release these 3-month patches now, but they don't scrimp on quality. So it's going to be interesting to see whether we get a fantastic game because of that, or if we just get a little bit better game, or if it doesn't work, or whatever. So I suppose my revelation for games development is that if they had a publisher, they would have probably already released Squadron 42. But does this mean we're going to get a better game or not? I don't know yet. Also, games will get an interesting sort of like take on the media. Media are much more, especially when they're not haven't been invited to the studios or whatever. They seem to be much more likely to do negative pieces on a product without researching much or understanding a project. That's why you get a load of hate for CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk 2077. Not because these people believe it, in my opinion, but because it gets clicks. It's sort of like a misunderstanding, or let's react aggressively to that, or let's rile up some hate clicks, or just sort of like clickbait titles. And it genuinely is that. I was like seeing some of the stuff with Cyberpunk 2077 and going, why? What? You're complaining about the main character being looking like this and this sort of stuff. It's a character creator. You can look however you want. It's just for the demo. That's the default for him. What? There's just loads of weird shit that people were trying to complain about Cyberpunk because Cyberpunk was popular at E3, getting lots of clicks because people were excited about it. And they're just like, well, let's write about how we hate Cyberpunk, or how they're all racist or something. Sorry, that's my rant. But Star Citizen gets a similar level of hate from some companies and journalists and stuff, and from a polarized community. Some discrete thumb scale to give us an opinion on 3.6. Then you haven't said anything. So 3.6 is a Evocati patch, which means once it's in a more playable state and it has all the features, it will go out to a wider BTU, or at least more of the features. That's all I'm going to say. What's the best way to cook an eggplant? I don't know. Why did CIG switch from CryEngine to the engine they have now? So Lumberyard seemed like a better choice to them. Actually, I'll include that what I'm going to talk about in a minute. Right, I'm going to get urinate, and then we're going to talk about Lumberyard. I'm going to read an article. Actually, I better not sing Back to the Future music, otherwise it might get me in trouble for some reason. Will Keanu Reeves be the Vandal King in Squadron 42? I mean, maybe they will ask Keanu Reeves in for like a Squadron 42 episode 2 or something. But I think they've got a huge amount of actors in Squadron 42 episode 1 and appearing in Squadron 42 episode 2, including Gillian Anderson, John Rhys Davies, Mark Hamill, Henry Cavill, Gollum. Forgotten his name. Did you wash your hands? No, I did not. Yeah, of course I fucking did. Right. Tell us. Do this. Do this. And then... let's... What am I clicking on? Is this good? Is it good? Do I look good? I look good, yeah? Right? Hello, I'm BoredGamer, the thinking man's potato. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Amazon's Lumberyard, its sort of like interaction with Star Citizen, maybe talk a bit about Star Citizen using it as an engine, some problems that we've heard in the news recently about Amazon Lumberyard. It potentially is struggling. I'm going to use a couple of articles from TechRaptor. I've got the wiki pages, and we'll talk about some of that stuff. So, Amazon Game Studios lays off dozens of employees, and this is from the 14th of June and just after E3. So, according to a report from Kotaku's Jason Schreier, Amazon Game Studios quietly laid off dozens of employees yesterday during the final day of E3 2019. Amazon first started developing games back in 2010, announcing to move to a AAA game development studio with a proper Amazon Game Studios in 2014, until then having focused mostly on mobile games. 2 years after the studio's initial announcement, at the September 2016 TwitchCon, they revealed their first 3 games, Breakaway, Crucible, and New World. Now, New World is a cool little MMO, which I think might be pretty good when it comes out. They've been running like alpha tests and stuff of it like that. I think Breakaway has actually been cancelled. Crucible is one of the games that we always need, battle royales. And I think they're all relatively minor studios, or Amazon's own studio. Breakaway was cancelled in March of last year. You see, since then, we haven't heard much more about Amazon Game Studios. Reportedly, the affected employees were told yesterday, which should have been on the 13th of June, I believe. They've got 60 days to look for new positions within Amazon. So they're sort of like redistributing some of them. At the end of this period, if they don't manage to find employment, they will receive severance packages. Okay, so same source was also... That's what I say to that. The same source also informed Kotaku that Amazon cancelled some unannounced games. Okay, well, we don't know what they are. While the company didn't confirm the exact number of employees that are to be laid off, they did release an official statement to Kotaku. Amazon Game Studios is reorganizing some of our teams to allow us to prioritize development of New World, Crucible, and new unannounced projects, which we're excited to reveal in the future. These moves are the result of regular business planning cycles, where we align resources to match evolving long-range priorities. We're working closely with all our employees affected by these changes to assist them in finding new roles within Amazon. Amazon is deeply committed to games and continues to invest heavily in Amazon Game Studios, Twitch Prime, AWS, which is the obviously Amazon Web Services, our retail businesses, and other areas within Amazon. So it does sound like, yeah, it's game development, it's just general cycles of business where they move employees, fire employees, they don't renew contracts, some projects don't work, some do. It could be that they're not struggling at all. It could be that they're struggling a lot. I mean, we haven't seen any major releases using Lumberyard yet from a AAA studio, I suppose. So Amazon are sort of like trying to bridge the gap as both a engine provider and a AAA development studio, taking that CryEngine code and building it into something potentially more. It should also be noted that some of the high-profile developers that were hired by Amazon Game Studios after a move to AAA development, such as Portal director Kim Swift and Far Cry 2 director Clint Hocking, have since left the company and never shipped any titles. So, I think that's quite interesting. I would chuck that but put that in there so you can have a read of it yourself. But then, more recently, a couple of days ago, there was a, which has since been corrected, article from Amazon, from TechRaptor, Amazon Game Studios struggling due to Lumberyard Engine. So this has been corrected in the fact that they said that Star Citizen had dropped the Lumberyard Engine. They weren't using it anymore, which is obviously incorrect. So take that with a pinch of salt with some of this reporting on this. Like if you do not have a really sort of like engaged, interested research sort of pattern for certain things, if you're just reporting on it based on quick searches or as far as your understanding of it is, or what's easily accessible, then you do miss things occasionally, which is why I like to get stuff from multiple sources. Sometimes that it's not necessarily that the journalist was bad or whatever, but they just missed some stuff. Sometimes it is because they're bad, don't get me wrong, or sometimes it's because they're biased or whatever, or sometimes it's because they're reporting on news, and it's sort of like several degrees detached. Last week we reported on Amazon Game Studios laying off employees during E3, and today there's a new report in the Wall Street Journal that claims that the megacorporation's game development division seems to be struggling to advance in the industry, and most of the issues encountered by the developers at the studio can be rooted in the company's licensed engine known as Lumberyard. That sort of makes sense. If they are struggling, it's probably going to be based on either their employees, their sort of management, or the actual core of their product and their engine, which is based on Crytek's CryEngine, by some accounts a very complex and difficult to use technology that was only made available for non-commercial game development in 2011, or was it 2010, 2011? Around then. Prior to that, the engine was custom made for internal use at Crytek, and the Wall Street Journal relies on a few undisclosed sources to detail these issues. In spite of our efforts, we didn't achieve the breakthrough that made the game what we all hoped it could be. So this is one of the games that obviously was cut. Amazon staff wrote in Reddit post last year revealing the cancellation of Breakaway, one of the 3 games that was announced for the PC for it previously. The company had described it as an online multiplayer mythological sports brawler. We've got loads of brawlers. We've got loads of things that look like mobile games. We've got loads of battle royale games. I'm not sure if that's a fault of Amazon Lumberyard or more of a fault of what they think is appropriate to make on a platform. I would like to see pioneering stuff. I want to see new games. I want to see new types of ways of doing things. I want to see interesting stuff that isn't just, well, let's just do battle royales because they're popular at the moment. Let's do a card game. One additional PC game was never announced publicly, but has been cancelled. According to people familiar with the matter, Amazon Game Studios last year released a car racing title called Grand Tour Game for consoles, but it sold poorly. Yeah, I could have probably told you it would sell poorly, potentially. Well, I didn't even know that there was a game released called Grand Tour Game. The software, a so-called engine known as Lumberyard, was a so-called engine. I mean, it is an engine. It's a game engine. Wasn't built for the kind of multiplayer games Amazon wanted to make, and the company's efforts to retool it have proved difficult. So this is an opinion of someone that they talked to rather than factual. It's anecdotal. The current and former employees said, as a result, making Breakaway, for example, was like driving a train while the tracks were still being laid down, these people explained. And this might be true. I mean, they might not have fully developed the Lumberyard sort of tools, but when it comes to Star Citizen has just grabbed the engine and has made their own modules. And it's one of the things that I want to talk about here as well, is how much it has Amazon Lumberyard benefited from Star Citizen, sort of like developing it on Lumberyard Engine. Are they getting like bug fixes? Are they working together to push for new stuff together? And is that going to allow them to have a much better multiplayer experience for Lumberyard? They're still ironing out the kinks of what it means to own and maintain your own engine, said a developer working at Amazon Game Studios, referring to a separate team responsible for Lumberyard. That also makes sense. That might have actually been part of a talking about Lumberyard in general. It might have been quite a positive sort of like the conversation they had with him, but that sort of like might be a little bit tinted to, well, there's still bugs with it. Yeah, there's still bugs with it. Technically, the engine is going to constantly get updates. But we'll talk about that in a second. Lumberyard was announced as an engine of Star Citizen by its creator Chris Roberts in 2016. As of last December, the company was still facing a lawsuit from Crytek over the use of Crytek's CryEngine. Lumberyard, and I've covered that loads on my channel. Sort of like lots of the Crytek lawsuit stuff has been dismissed. admittedly, at least some of the core of it. It's now sort of like, at the moment, they're waiting on a bond. So CIG wants a $2.2 million bond from Crytek to prove that they can pay their legal expenses if CIG are seen as the prevailing party in the end. And that's quite possible, so that's been interesting. And Crytek recently got new lawyers, getting rid of Squadron and going for some what appear to be less expensive lawyers. Maybe more effective, I don't know. Lumberyard forms the base of the studio's StarEngine, a heavily modified version of CryEngine, derived from Lumberyard. Last month, we also reported on mismanagement at Cloud Imperium Games, following several complaints to the Federal Trade Commission. I believe that's just referencing the Forbes article there. It's still up in the air whether Amazon's game development division will ever release a title since its move to a AAA game development with a proper studio in 2014. Now that is offensive. A proper studio. If you're making a game, and I will go over some of the games that are being made for it in a second. I feel like, oh, we're not a proper studio. Until then, Amazon had focused mostly on mobile games. 2 years after the studio's initial announcement at the September 2016 TwitchCon, they revealed the first 3 games: Breakaway, Crucible, and New World. Breakaway was cancelled. In June, the alpha test for New World ended, and the servers shut down after 9 months, with no word on the project since. But I suspect they are working on it. New World actually looks like it might be quite cool. It's sort of like an MMO, and it's got territory sort of like PvP, expansion and capture, and lots of PvE stuff going on in there, and lots of sort of like, it looks like low fantasy, but it does have fantasy elements in it. It's sort of like colonization of America and lots of different factions. It looks pretty cool. It was worth considering as well that Amazon owns Twitch, which attempted to get into the game store market before quietly backing away in November of last year. Amazon certainly don't lack the resources to pursue game development, so perhaps if they manage to develop their own in-house engine, as many AAA developers do, they might just manage to release a proper game. See, I think they might be going the right way with Amazon. Or perhaps having attempted to cheat around that in a way with Lumberyard, they'll move on to using a more industry standard solution like the Unreal Engine. Correction, we've also now cleaned up how we refer to Lumberyard and Star Citizen in the story. Apologies for the misunderstandings. It looks like they worded it previously that Star Citizen had dropped the Lumberyard engine, which wasn't correct. But I will also link that article down below. Bam. Oh, thank you very much for the donations, Shite. We all know Amazon doesn't lay off employees. They just die from exhaustion, and then their bodies are sent to Lumberyard, where they're ground up for power. Wow, the drones. Just a thought. Thanks, bud. Thanks. Roy Johnson, first off, good morning. Second, this is past my bedtime. And third question, how many Amazon employees do you think CIG will hire? Well, no. I think they're working with them. So, let's talk a little bit about this, okay? So, new dynamic vegetation system in Lumberyard, beta 1.19, now available. So, this came out a couple of days ago. This is the new version of Lumberyard, and we know that CIG are working with Lumberyard and Amazon in various ways, and Twitch and all that sort of jazz. Now, this has got some interesting things in it, because they basically keep on updating the Lumberyard engine to be more appealing to potential users of it. And you can use Lumberyard entirely free if you want to learn how it works and that sort of stuff. You just create an AWS account, download Lumberyard, and just get modding, creating games, whatever. Now, Star Citizen and its StarEngine. So basically, it's a massively modified version of the CryEngine, then ported over to Lumberyard, then rebuilt whatever they needed to for Lumberyard, and then lots of different modules added by CIG themselves, including this like procedural generation tech and better tech for lots of different things. Now, one of the big things in this version of Lumberyard is new dynamic vegetation system, basically procedure generated grass placement and vegetation placement. And that is similar to what Star Citizen are doing with their harvestable entity spawning system and all that sort of stuff, and their improvements with the procedural generation with the version 4 of procedural generation that they are making at the moment. And we've seen some of this before. Again, in... Bam. So if we go here, we can see the Nordic forest biomes of... Oh, yeah. of Microtech. This was like from 6 to 9 months ago or so. You can see they're producing foliage in a similar-ish way. Obviously, it's a while ago now, but these improvements that Star Citizen have been making, they could be also being subsumed by Amazon, or maybe they're working together on them, or maybe they're taking bits from Lumberyard Engine that get improved and adding it to Star Citizen. Now, we previously know that CIG did say that changes to the Lumberyard Engine, they can subsume some of them if they're sensible and if they're workable. Not all of them. Some of them are too far detached from the sort of like branch of the Lumberyard Engine that the StarEngine has now gone in, because they might update the Lumberyard Engine, but it might not be compatible with the vast changes that CIG have done. However, some of them will be, some of them won't. And it's just interesting to see that I do think that Lumberyard will benefit significantly from Star Citizen's like improvements to the multiplayer tech. Once they get like server meshing, once they get some of this server-side object container streaming stuff, I would expect Amazon Lumberyard to either start to use some of that to improve its engine, or for CIG to sell it to them potentially, or some sort of like somewhere in between that. I suspect they have some pretty good, some pretty interesting deals going. Obviously, this is slightly murkied by the Crytek versus CIG lawsuit, with, at the moment, sort of, as the way I read it, Crytek saying that, well, your game does contain Crytek code, because Lumberyard is Crytek. It is based on the Crytek engine, and sort of CIG saying, no, if you didn't want other people to use Lumberyard and your sort of like some of your code through Lumberyard, you shouldn't have sold the code to Amazon in the first place, because we know that Star Citizen aren't bound to have to use the CryEngine. That the court have already dismissed that. But anyway, I was quite interested in that. There were some other games that are being made on the Lumberyard engine as well. So we know that there's the released game. There's 2 released games. I don't know what this one is. Covenants. The Sweet Bandit Studios. Apparently, you're not a real studio. Another EU Amazon Game Studios. You're not a real studio, not a proper studio. So the Grand Tour game, yeah, whatever. We've got Star Citizen, which is now pretty much, I think, 142 have just been merged title-wise with Cloud Imperium. It's just sort of like Cloud Imperium. Behavior Interactive did start and help development early on, as did Ilphonic and places like that, and Moon Collider. But now it is pretty much in-house Cloud Imperium for everything, I believe. It's just Montreal's Thingamajig that does the web platform stuff. Thingamajig, that's a known studio. I don't know. What do you want from me? I don't know everything. I can't remember all the words. So we got the DRG Initiative, the third-person shooter. We've got Breakaway, which is a MOBA, apparently, but I thought it was that's the one that was cancelled. We've got New World, which is the MMO. We've got the Crucible, which is the third-person shooter, but it is a Battle Royale game. We've got a fighting game that I didn't realise was released. And we've got Dead House Sonata, an action role-playing game, which I will check out, because I do not know anything about that. But yeah, so not many studios or games announced using the Lumberyard engine yet. I'm interested to see what they are able to do with New World. I don't give a damn about another Battle Royale game. When they fix the netcode in Apex Legends, I'll go back to that. But I've been playing as Overwatch recently. I'm a monster, I know. But New World, pretty cool. Cool looking, anyway. Might be in the alpha tests for it. Who knows? Yeah, what do people think? So, do you think that Star Citizen are getting improvements from Lumberyard, or do you think it's the other way around, or do you think it's a bit of both ways? The other thing I suppose I wanted to talk about is Vulkan. So at the moment, I don't believe that Lumberyard has Vulkan support, and that's something that Star Citizen wants to support. And Vulkan is an extremely good idea for Star Citizen. It is effectively hardware neutral. It doesn't matter if NVIDIA or AMD want to write in some stuff that means, oh, Star Citizen's going to run much better if you have this proprietary tech in the game that gives you like 50 frames per second or whatever. So I'm very, very happy that they use Vulkan for that. And obviously that then leads them to be able to do VR if they want to, and that sort of stuff. And I might very well switch over to an AMD PC next year, or later this year, because of that change, because of that addition of Vulkan support. Because there's a lot of cool AMD tech coming out. So that might be a good time to swap, and it might be a lot cheaper. I don't know. I'm going to wait until I know more. But it's interesting because then Lumberyard may very well support Vulkan as well at the same sort of time, if they are sharing technology together. But I am interested to know what you guys think. Bam. Like there are a whole... What are we talking about? Because CIG have all the good CryEngine devs. So, yes, CIG certainly have obviously Brian Chambers and his team and the guys he knew, and some of the other CryEngine devs. They were a massive asset to Star Citizen, being able to effectively rewrite the Cry and Lumberyard engines to suit their purposes. Because CryEngine is not great for massive multiplayer games. It's not great for multiplayer games in general, really. So that it had to have a lot of work. And Lumberyard is probably suffering from that as well. Has CIG employees ever vented to you about game engine quirks or complexity? I've certainly talked to a lot of CIG employees at the pubs and stuff and talked to them about things. So typically, people I've talked to are very passionate about the project. They don't get paid a great amount, but like team leads and stuff like that. But they want to stay with their team. They want to get their modules completed. They want to get the game out. And that's what they're sort of like focused on. It's a really interesting project for them. And I think they sort of like a lot of people, it's a project of love and passion. CIG, I don't think have the same sort of aggressive crunch either, as far as I understand it. They're sort of like got a good work-life balance. At least that's what they say and what they try and focus on. A lot of the devs go out drinking together from the Foundry 42 studios in the evenings, especially on the Friday. Will modding tools be free or will we have to pay for them? For Squadron 42, for Star Citizen, I don't actually know. I'm assuming they'll be free. There'll be free options. You might have to pay for servers if they want to do private servers, which I'm assuming if they had mods that allowed you to do total conversions, then they'd have to have the ability to have servers, private servers. I don't know for sure, but I would expect them to be free. Lumberyard's free. So if you wanted to get on top of what Star Citizen mods might be, then check that out. Check out Lumberyard. Learn how to use Lumberyard. Look at those of the videos there. I'm BoredGamer's fashion advisor. You are Robert Johnston. Tonight, he ignored my advice. Are you happy now? Oh, Johnston, one of my biggest donors and commanders of me, of my body and my clothes that I wear. I look ridiculous. I did link the second article, didn't I? Let me just again, in case I didn't. Will I be able to call my ship Care Bear Destroyer? Probably, as long as they don't, for some reason, make that a invalid name. I believe there is going to be a way of displaying the names of your ship on your ship. All the pay-to-win nonsense assumes winning is primarily about beating IRL players, and there's every indication that the PU will be 10-1 PvE. But yeah, so that at least 10 or 9 NPCs simulated for every player, sort of thing, is the idea. So, okay, the pay-to-win argument really is: do you get an advantage for spending money that will give you an advantage over other people, or advancing over other people, or whatever. Because you could play like a single player mobile game or Candy Crush or something, and it could still be pay to win. Do you see what I mean? Because it gives you an advantage by paying that you can't get elsewhere or whatever. So that's the sort of pay to win argument. And there's certainly elements of pay to win in Star Citizen because you can buy ships. Doesn't mean that Star Citizen is going to be a bad game. In fact, I think it would have been the only way it would have been funded. It was the funding model that it's currently got. New World Alpha was acceptably polished and will yield a viable product. That sounds great. I'm looking forward to New World. What's your favourite brand of ship thus far? On paper, it's Drake. Sort of like Drake, function over form. I'd like to see a Drake Corvette, sort of like combat ship at some point. Do you think we'll be able to... I've lost my position. Where'd I go? Do you think we'll be able to get hireable NPCs to provide waiting staff on the 890 jump? Yeah, I believe that one of the things they're doing the bartender updates for is so that you can have a bartender aboard your 890 jump in the bar. You know, I need a bartender, a chef, guest relations staff, etc. And I suspect there will be other service and vendor personnel that they also add that you can probably hire, or that are part of crew hires. And that sort of stuff will also be used on the Genesis Starliner and other luxury ships as well. Are server-side object container streaming and server meshing Star Citizen only or part of Lumberyard? I believe they are currently Star Citizen only, at least the versions that they've got of them. There's lots of stuff, multiplayer-wise, that Lumberyard looks like it suffers from. It's got lots of potential because it's got a huge amount that they can leverage with Lumberyard. I do expect that Lumberyard will subsume some of this tech. Any comment on the similarities to what Google Stadia are doing? No, not at the moment. I don't really know enough about Google Stadia beyond basically it's a sort of like cloud console. It's effectively the way I see it at the moment. The reason I love Shadow and that I'm a Shadow shill is because Shadow give you the ability to use a Windows 10 PC environment and set it up as a gaming computer. And it will be constantly updated. Amazon and CIG merge? Lol. So they'll work together. That makes sense. Robert Johnston! Sorry, bro, I've nearly spent all my disposable, so you have to sell yourself cheap tonight. Mate, you don't ever need to give me money. It's super appreciated. I will do silly things for you. You've paid... you've got a lot of credit with me. Say that. And you can't deny all the compliments last stream, though, can you? That's true. People did love my stupid clothing. That's why you're my fashion advisor. Was there a spammer? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not very good at noticing things. Where's one spamming? I don't really know. Like a million. Oh, God. Oh. Report. Cool, thank you. Oh, yeah. Very much. Mate, I'm a massive sellout. Don't you fucking worry. I got your back. Got my own back as well. Yeah, sorry, I'm not great at responding quickly to spam. I mean, I am sometimes. I've got it sort of like semi-automated. Cut the top of my head off, you know, as you do. Is the adaptive servers from Amazon still a thing for Star Citizen? I'm talking about servers that are supposed to adapt to how many players are connected. Yeah, so the idea is that we've got to have dynamic server meshing in the future, which is what they're working towards at the moment, which will be a based on population. They'll spin up servers for something as small as an individual room. Turbulent is the name of the studio that are doing the web stuff for Star Citizen. Thank you. Many minutes behind in the chat now. I wonder how, with the upcoming console supporting their form of ray tracing and how consoles generally force the trend for each tech used in games, will CIG at some point decide to take advantage of ray tracing? Yes, they may take advantage of ray tracing if it becomes sensible for them to use in the future. The last thing they talked about was we're not sure if it's more of a headache or if it's worth using or not yet. At the moment, it doesn't look like it's worth using for us currently in Star Citizen, but maybe it will be in the future. And it's possible that Squadron 42 will see a console release with the next gen of consoles as well if they don't have to sort of like downgrade it too much for the console. Will bullets disappear once they hit the hull of a ship, or could they pierce through and kill someone inside? They could pierce through and kill someone inside. There will be a piercing system with when they have physicalized components and when they've built that, the rest of that tech in, so that you have hull and armor and all that sort of stuff, and your projectiles that go through, that make it through the shield or whatever. When the shields are down, it will then hit the hull and the armor, and then if it goes through that, then it will go through and hit things inside, which can be components, or it can be players, it can be people, NPCs, whatever. But off topic, with all the developments happening in Star Citizen, when do you see the first jump point coming into the game? I think we will see something jump pointing at Citizencon. That's my expectation. I think we'll see the first new system next year. What do you think of the Hurricane? I'm looking at getting some bigger, better photo-wise, and I don't see much about the Hurricane. Hurricane's cool. I think at the moment, because other ships have got like auto gimbals and things like that, they're pretty effective. But the Hurricane, obviously a two-person ship, and it's got a huge amount of firepower for a fighter once you get into that turret. I think it's going to be cool. I just think it hasn't come into its own yet. If our mods are really cool, would CIG... I am still alive, that's true. I've lost... If mods are really cool, will CIG adopt them into the verse? I mean, they might adopt ideas and potentially mods, I suppose. I mean, they might hire people that make some really cool mods. It depends on the mod, I suppose. It's possible that they'll adopt them. It's possible that they'll use them. I have to wait and see if we can actually, get mods. They said they want to have modding support. They probably still want to have private servers because of that. But it's a way out. Yes, I'm Sergeant Pepper's band member. Yes. Did he just say selling his body for YouTube donations? I mean, I sort of implied that, but not in a sexy way, unless you find an attractive potato sexy. Very hot in my room, and this jacket is incredibly warm. If you've got a penny for every time someone asked you about pay to win, how much would you have for it now? I probably have a shitload of pennies. I don't know. I probably have like £4. It's probably not that much. How's eating the whole wheat pastas, Lieutenant General Potato? Wow. It's alright. I'm getting used to quinola and whole wheat pasta. Well, not whole wheat pasta. That's still really high calorie. I'm eating whole wheat noodles. And I'm actually having my sort of like guilty pleasure is gnocchi. Potato gnocchi, which is pretty low calorie rise and pretty good for you. It looks like it's pretty good for you anyway. I don't know. It's fucking eating everything, mate. I hope. Do you think that do you think that when travelling as a passenger on a Starliner, we will get the safety stewardess routine? Yes, I do. I think that was part of the original concept of the ship. There's like a drinks maker and stuff. You had to go and service people that are your passengers. I think it will have all that sort of stuff going on to get you a better reputation, get people to want to buy tickets from you. Maybe you can charge higher prices for tickets. Maybe you get more money based on the sort of services that you sell to people while they're on your ship. Any credence to the imager pictures showing an announcement in Concierge such Evicardi on Spectrum about the character having 3 small shields instead of a large one? I do not know, nor can I talk about the specifics of an Evicati patch. Thank you very much for the subs. Thank you very much for the donations. Off to bed now. Good night. Keep the noise down and feck off. Thank you very much, Robert Johnston, or Robert Johnson, as you're now known at the end of my videos. I apologise for that. Thank you very much. You're a legend and a good man. A good persons. Thank you very much. Genuinely appreciated. Fantastic patron of the channel. I'm glad you're still alive. Thank you. Do we know if on foot player free look made it into 3.6? It looks like it has, according to the roadmap. Want to have a look at the leaks to see more? Then go to the Reddit. But I will not be covering the leaks until I'm told by CIG they won't sort of like get angry at me. So I'm an Evicati member, which basically means I've got to protect the. I'm not supposed to cover. Well, I'm not supposed to use footage from inside the Evicati or the patch notes, but you know, covering a leak would be pretty similar. Will Star Citizen partner with Elon Musk's Starlink for super low latency laser-driven international multiplayer? Well, we'll have to see if Starlink just allows better low latency for games in general. Because if it does, I suspect that Amazon will get involved and things like that as well. As Amazon servers are not cheap, and as CIG is putting a lot of the game on the server, will Star Citizen go subscription, or will it rely entirely on sales and microtransactions? At the moment, they've said they are relying on, after the game's released, they're going to be selling game packages and in-game currency. But they will look at other routes to monetization if necessary. Obviously, they'll almost certainly still continue the voluntary subscriptions and merchandise and ticket prices for events and all that sort of stuff. I still think they'll sell concept ships. That's just my expectation. I also think they'll probably have a pretty fucking good deal with Amazon, like for their servers. They'll be a lot cheaper for CIG's use of what they want, but they'll still have a price to them, which is why they need to get them as optimized as possible. Watch all your videos. You're the best. Thanks, Right House TV. I appreciate that. I'm not, but I appreciate your delusion that I am. Thanks. Do you think they will redo the Terrapin internal at some point? I think it would make a great camper van. So you might be able to customize the internals of the Terrapin in the future. The Terrapin will probably be the first ship that has fully physicalized components. So bear that in mind. So it might get a little bit of a light rework at the same time, or a light update. Do you think the website minigames could make it into the full game at some point? Yes, I do. I think with Sea Hyper Vanguard Force and stuff like that in game, yeah. Will I be able to mod a Gundam into the game? Well, we'll see what happens with the Titan suits. Obviously, they're more Iron Man than Gundam. But if they allow us full modding, you'll probably be able to make a Gundam game or a Battlestar Galactica game and all that sort of stuff. Do you think Lancers will get rotating main thrusters, same as the Cuddy in 3.6? Well, I don't know for sure. That might be what the leaks have implied about the Cutty. Do I think the freelancers will get rotating thrusters for VTOL? Maybe. Makes sense sort of now. Is the Reclaimer available in the shop? I don't know. Let's have a look. Extras or products? Reclam. No, it doesn't appear to be. I was forced to wear this jacket in exchange for money. How bad sign is it that Amazon says the game engine was not constructed for online games and it is causing problems? Well, that's true. To the scale that they wanted, it originally was not constructed for online games. However, I didn't see the whole sort of like what the dude said. It was just a snippet of what he said. It's probably... So, can you tell us about the problems that you've had with Lumberyard from the beginning of when you took the engine over? Oh yeah, it's working really great now, but originally... And then it could be, we had problems with it not being great for multiplayer. Whatever, do you see what I mean? And it could have just been clipped there. But I do think that that is true of that is maybe not have been the best for, well, at least originally, for multiplayer games, especially the scale of Star Citizen. But Star Citizen has massively modified that CryEngine has and that Lumberyard engine now. I love you, Board. Thank you very much, Pork Woofers. Oh my god, you've got a fucking amazing name. Did you know you can get a better noodle made from chickpeas? I'll use, was it gram flour chickpeas? It's used in protein diets, tastes much better than whole wheat noodles. I will check out noodles. Do you know what they're called? Chickpea noodles? Do you know if anyone's tried any kind of server meshing before? Yes, server meshings. There's lots of different types of server meshing that already work in games. This is all just multiple servers that exchange data. The thing that Star Citizen is trying to do is use server meshing to seamlessly transition players from one area to another on a massive scale. That's what Star Citizen is doing new. The server meshing in the sort of like, for example, what's that ship game? What's it called? Ship game that's based on the other game. Yeah, it's been used for other stuff. But typically there's like loading times between those servers and things like that. And they're more instanced. Whereas CIG trying to do it as a seamless thing. They're trying to have all those servers affect each other. They're trying to have to hand off to other servers. And they're trying to spin up and down servers based dynamically on population of a single room, a single ship, all the way up to a planet, all the way up to a whole star system. Then sort of like Atlas, thank you. Oh, I was like Apex, no, not Apex Legends. Atlas is the game. Any idea what they're going to be using for anti-cheat and duping? So obviously being a server authoritative, that's a much better way of starting to get rid of some cheats. No, I don't know what they're going to be using for anti-cheat, and obviously cheating even with anti-cheat is still in almost every game. So there needs to be a really, really harsh punishment of you're permanently out and all your stuff is just gone if you cheat. Exploiting may be slightly different based on the level of what you're doing. So some stuff might be like, well, it's not an exploit. It's not a bad exploit, or it's an exploit that's like, I don't know. There are different levels of exploit is what I'm saying. So that would be interesting to see, but there has to be punishments for these things. But cheating, yeah, I think people should just be out. But I don't know what sort of like anti-cheat they're going to be using. Maybe it might be their own proprietary one, which would be cool if they get something that's good, that's not too invasive. I do not like invasive anti-cheats, or ones that suck my processor away. While everything will be available in game, almost everything, how realistic will it be to buy every shipping game? Yeah, if you're in an org, pretty realistic. Big org. Some ships are meant to be bought as a group, like, you know, the capital ships. When do you think CIG will start adding gameplay instead of just tech? Comparing our current gameplay UI to something like Division 2, I'm afraid that we have to wait a lot. That's true. I mean, Division 2 is a released, finished game. Unfortunately, I completed everything there was to do in Division 2 in 2 weeks, and I'm still playing Star Citizen, so I would counter that with I've had many more thousands of hours in Star Citizen than I will ever get with Division 2. I enjoyed Division 2, but I did everything. Nothing left to do. So, Star Citizen is adding gameplay. It's just largely working on core tech and those core gameplay mechanics at the moment, and we won't see much beyond that, really, until after Squadron 42 Episode 1 is released, in my opinion. I mean, we're going to see, like, Salvage this year. We're going to see expansions to the persistent universe and things like that. They're working on core tech, though, at the moment, and they need to get that done. You know when players will be building their own player bases on planets. So we know that they want to have ground gameplay, and the outposts being built with the Pioneer. Last year, Aaron, at the end of the year, wanted to get in land claims and some land claim gameplay into that, the Stanton system. He was really excited about that, but obviously they had to reprioritize things. We don't know when that's going to be. So firstly, expect land claim gameplay and some interesting gameplay mechanics attached to that before we can build bases. But they need to get the Pioneer in, and then have the building outposts mechanic, which is probably a long way off. 18 months or so would be my expectation for the actual building of outposts. Elon was at E3 and he talked about Starlink, and it will have a mod for under 10 milliseconds connection worldwide, and it could be utilized for video games. Yeah, it sounds fucking amazing. It's just whether or not it is able to be easily adopted by companies and not too expensive price. But I love the idea of Starlink. Love it. I love Elon Musk as a person. I think he's a legend, and he seems like a good chap. Do you think the Spider Miner will be brought to the Persistent Universe or stay Squadron 42 only? I don't think anything will be Squadron 42 only. Well, very little will be Squadron 42 only. I think that we'll see the Sidness in Star Citizen, yeah. When the water systems are in place, do you think they're going to add water landing gear options to ships? So you could have a 600i houseboat. This is interesting, actually, because I was trying to think about this with the 890 jump. They do want buoyancy off ships. They are working on that. They are working on a lot of the water gameplay. So yeah, potentially we could have ships floating around in the water, especially the ships like this 600i and the 890 jump. When do you think the new 300 series? What do you think of the new 300 series? Yeah, they're pretty cool. I like their look. Are they viable ships, or like the Reliance series, still outclassed by the Avenger Titan? So they have better facilities than the Avenger Titan, and therefore a longer range, in my opinion. So you've got like a whole living area in the 300 series for putting a toilet and a bed. Not the 350R, that's only got the bed and the toilet, but not the living area. But the rest of the 300 series, they've got this sort of like living area. You can put loads of items there, lots of use from that. Probably be better for eating, drinking, keeping your character stamina up, keeping rested, that sort of stuff. They might have a longer range than the Avenger Titan. I don't think the Avenger Titan needs to be nerfed. I think maybe it just needs to have, by default, pretty trash tier C-class civilian components. Boris Johnson, Jeremy Hunt, and Theresa May. Kiss, make one prime minister, and I'm not sure if I can answer this question. I don't really want to touch on politics. Oh no. Well, I don't want Theresa May as prime minister anymore. I mean, and Bojo, he's very attractive, so maybe kiss him. And maybe... no, I'm not answering this question. You're a monster. What is BoredGamer personal education... What is BoredGamer's personal educated guess on what year will soft launch of Star Citizen be? 2012. 2012 soft launch of Star Citizen. Confirmed. Confirmed now. Right. What I'm going to do is probably cut that talk about Amazon Lumberyard into a video and see if it works as a video on my channel. You mentioned org ships. Will it be possible that a ship can be purchased by an org that's attached to the org and not a player? I think that is one of the things that these sort of like org features will allow for. You'll have to have an org hangar and have ships owned in that org hangar so players can buy them together. Submarine in the Carrack. No, there's a Pisces. Well, maybe it will be able to be used underwater. The Pisces snub. It's called the Pisces. There's a scout snub that the Carrack has. Right. I am going to go and host someone else and dash off. But hopefully I can get an interesting video out of the talk about Amazon stuff. Maybe it will work, maybe it won't work. We'll see if it gets accepted on the channel. Or if people are like, nah, don't like that content. Nah. Keep it 100% Star Citizen purely. Right, let's have a look. See what else is tremming. Let's have a look. See what else. Oh. Right, we will go and host SMB. Because he's doing a 3.6 patch notes breakdown, which I'm not allowed to talk about. You can talk to him about that. Right. Fucking love you guys. Thanks very much for watching. Oh, there's some questions. Let's do some questions quick. I still can't figure out how to land an Area 18. I get the okay from NPC over comms, and none of the hangars have green around them to allow me to use them. Do you have a video of it? I mean, I've got it as part of videos, but not as a specific tutorial for them. You should be able to find it just by looking around. It can be inside a hangar, or it can be going down into a hangar. So it can be down and in, as well as just down. Do you see what I mean? Right. Love you guys, and I'll see you soon. Peace out. Go give SMB some love. Bam.